is your quarterfinal, fourth quarter, 1 through 95. Lessons 1 through 95, Marissa. Get with it. All right. Question number 1. I know it's not on the list I gave you, but we're going to cover it because it's going to be weird for me to not do it. Triangles AEB and triangle DEF are similar. Actually, that's kind of an impossible question to answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Number 2.
I think D. These triangles are not similar. There's no way of answering question number 1.
It's E.
Oh, wait, hold on a second.
It's A somewhere.
Well, no, hold on. If you notice something here, I'm going to try to draw it. If you notice something that both of them have, they both have E. So it would have to be a situation like this where we know an angle is shared, and these two lines would have to be parallel. So we would have corresponding angles postulate, which would mean that we would have an angle-angle similarity postulate.
Yeah. This is why we don't have this question.
This is why this question's not on the test. I think I speak for the whole class when I say, "Shut it, Marissa."
Let's ask you a question.
All right. Shh. Question number 2. Now we're getting into the realm where this is on the test. Okay? And a lot of these are just flat out on the test. But let me say this about your test, because I put it together last night so that Miles could take it. Miles is finding out right now that there is only one question on this test that is multiple choice.
Oh my, why?
One.
Stop.
So even if every single question on this test was exactly what is the review, you're going to have to type in the answer.
I think you should joke on Miles.
A boom.
Change the test about all of us have multiple choice here.
Except for one fill in the blank. Yeah, it's an inverted test. Listen, these questions are not that hard, and you guys have until Thursday to figure this out, right? All right. Question number 1. Listen, we'll get through a lot more if you guys are... Angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. What do we know about vertical angles? They are congruent. All right, so if it says angle 1 is 3x plus 8 and measure angle 2 is 4x minus 1, it says what is measure angle 1? What are we going to do? 4x minus 15. So 3x plus 8 equals 4x minus 15. That may or may not be true. You're going to subtract 3x. You're going to add 15. Looks like you are right. It will equal 23. But if you typed in 23 in as the answer, you would get a wrong answer. Does anybody know why? Plug it back in, find angle 1. So it doesn't matter where you plug it in at. You could do 3 times 23 plus 8 or 4 times 23 minus 15. Because they're equal, you should get the same answer. What's 3 times 23 plus 8? 77 degrees. All right. So that's how you want to solve number 2. Number 3. This is probably, Haley's favorite question? Didn't you ask me about this one the other day? So you're saying I shouldn't stop you now because you're having a good time? Okay. You're going to get a word problem. Let's see, we got S, X, R, and J. Now you do need to read it because it's going to give you additional information that doesn't show up in a picture, particularly the bit of information that says that, let's see, what is that city? Starts with an R. Roseburg. Says that Roseburg is what in relation to Springfield and Junction City? It's a midpoint. What does a midpoint do? It divides a segment into 2 equal parts, right? So if the distance from Springfield to Junction City is 360 miles. How far is it from Roseburg to Junction City? 180, although that's not the question being asked. Okay, we want to know what is the distance from our rest stop to Roseburg. How much further do they have to drive? Well, we know, hopefully, that this is 180 miles because it's a midpoint. So what are we going to do? 180 minus 55. Okay. 125 miles. Okay. We all good there? Great. Number. What?
Nobody else do that. And I feel bad. Are you good there?
I'm good. Thanks, though. All right, number 4. Y is the midpoint of xz. xy equals 5x. yz is 3x plus 6. Find xy, yz, and xz. And I tried to put in these where it's a multi-part question where it's asking for 3 different things. If you'll notice in the headline of the test, it's going to give an example where I'm going to say, something along the lines of xy equals, and I put a number. All right, comma, yz equals number, comma, xz equals number. So if you put it in that order, it should read as the right answer. But I'm going to go through every one of those tests and make sure if you got the right answer, you're going to get credit for it. Does that make sense?
Really, we should feel bad for Cam because we need to work. My goodness.
I'm going to end up having to do quite a bit more work than it. I have to do more work for it than if it was just multiple choice. In any case. Okay. So what do we want to start off by doing here?
But you want to draw a picture.
It would be helpful to draw a picture. It's not to say that you're wrong. You're probably right. Okay?
You just don't know it because I have a picture.
All right. I'm a picture person, so X, Z. Okay? All right. What do I need next?
X,
Y.
Y.
Y. Where should I put it?
In the middle.
In the middle. Okay, it's midpoint. So now I can take the information that they're giving me and put it in the right places. X, Y is 5X. Let's see, what else does it say? 3X plus 6. All right, so notice what it's going to look for. It's going to look for all 3 segments, right? X, Y, Y, Z, and X, Z. Okay, what do I want to do with 5X and 3X plus 6? 5x equals 3x plus 6. What are you going to do here? Subtract 3x from both sides. We get 2x equals 6. What does x equal? 3. So be careful that you don't just go down, hit 3, enter. Okay? Okay? All right, so xy is what? 15. Okay? Now, do I have to do a whole lot of math to figure out yz? Do I need to type in 3 times 3 plus 6? No, because yz is the same, right? 15. But we do want xz, which shouldn't take a whole lot of work because it's going to be 30. Okay, 15 and 15 is 30. Crazy. Do you see where, whenever I was looking at this test, I know it sounded extreme whenever I said there's only one multiple choice question, but it's because most of these questions are really pretty straightforward, right? There's not a whole lot of going to throw you for a loop type stuff in here, so it's probably one of the easier tests that you've been given, I would say, but it's going to ask more of you in terms of showing your work. Okay, number... No, actually, you're going to have to write the sentence. Converse of a statement. All right, so let's start off with what a converse is. If I have if A, then B, what's the converse of that?
If B, then A.
If B, then A. Okay? Do you see where this still shouldn't be that hard?
It's not going to be hard, but it's work. And I'm a millennial, according to Mr. Dodson, and Mr. Dodson says that millennials are lazy.
But you're Gen Z.
So, way to lean into it. All right. So if a molecule is a water molecule, then it's made up of oxygen and hydrogen. So what am I going to write?
If it's made up of oxygen.
If what is made up?
Oh, my bad.
Boom. If a molecule is made up of hydrogen and oxygen.
Oxygen, hydrogen.
Nobody wants your opinion, Marissa. Then what? Then it is a water molecule.
Not all of the water. Water.
All right. Molecule. Okay. And I believe the question on a test is also going to be a converse statement, so it really shouldn't be that bad. There's not really even a whole lot of room for error if you write it correctly, but I will read each of them, okay, and make sure if it's right, it gets credit.
Just
Okay.
make sure it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then it's opposite.
Mix up all the words.
If it makes enough sense, I get $1.
Ha ha ha. So funny.
Okay, number 6, area of a parallelogram. What's the formula for finding the area of a parallelogram? Base times height. Very good. Okay. Are you mocking me? All right, base times height. What's my base here? 8.5. What's the height? 19. Okay, that's important because if they gave you something like 17 out there for this line, okay, to throw you off, your height is the true height. It's the perpendicular distance from one base to the other base. So what's 8.5 times 19? Let me double check on this. What was this? Question number 6. 161.5. This one's in meters squared. I try to put in as many different options for the test as possible, but you will have to have the number right, like the 161.5. I know that sometimes on the test labels don't work, so you may not be able to put meters squared. Okay, and I've done M with the little caret symbol 2. I've done the actual meters squared out in words. I've done M squared in words. Those types of things. So again, if you have the right answer, I'm going to give you credit for it. Okay, I think I even have the option for like 161.5 if you just can't put anything. Number 7. Okay, find the circumference of the circle to the nearest tenth. Let's see, I want to look at this real quick.
Isn't that radius cube times
I just want to see how similar. Okay, now I understand that on yours, oh, that's lovely. Okay. All right, it is going to be, it's a diameter here. Okay, it's going to be a diameter on your test.
Okay.
What if the question is the same as another?
You can ask me about it, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, please don't be gone for this test.
Try not to be.
No, just you won't be.
I can't control everything.
Can't do.
I mean, it's impressive if you believe that. I figured you'd be nice to me if you thought I could control everything. But all right,
Why not? I just asked you how you work with slides.
2 pi r is our formula for circumference. Okay, so what do I need to do with 34? Either divide it by 2 or do what?
Take out the
Or take out the 2 and do pi times diameter. Okay, either way. Let's see, they want you to use 3.14. So we can either do 2 times 3.14 times 17 or 3.14 times 34. Either answer should be what? 106.8 meters. right? Again, easy questions. But because they're easy questions, I didn't want you guys to have the options of looking at 4 possibilities and picking, right? I wanted you to actually be able to prove that you, because some people still struggle to know the difference between circumference and area.
For me, like that.
I wasn't saying anything about anybody specifically, Haley. Tell whether the given side lengths form a right triangle. In this case, it's 5, 9, and 11. What do I want to do with those 3 numbers to see if they form a right triangle? Okay, Pythagorean theorem. How do I set these up into the Pythagorean theorem? Because I can't just put them in there however I want, right? Longest side is my hypotenuse, or at least potential hypotenuse, right? So, come on. How many?
Your marker in it.
You must have. That's. Watch. I'm gonna. There we go. I figured that would happen. It looks like kind of a tree, something like that. All right. 11 squared. So 5 squared plus 9 squared. All right. We got 25 plus 81. Right. Has the potential to be what? 121. What's 25 plus 81? 106. So it is not a right triangle. Our answer is going to be a no. All right. And this question on your test is a yes or no question. Okay. And I think that this one's multiple choice. I think this might be the multiple choice question on your test. Out of all of them.
So it'll be a yes or no question.
Yes, I gave you an option for, well, I figured rather than making you type yes or making you type no, because somebody would I would end up having to read all the yep, yeah, nope, nerp, those type of options. So, yee, I didn't want to read a bunch of yees.
I would put if it is not multiple choice, I will put
Brady's going to purposefully fail this test by putting yee into every single question.
On the converse statement, at the end of it, then you're actually gonna have to read it.
I'm going to have to mark it as wrong. All right, number 9. Number 9. This is one that you want to pay attention to because it has the potential to be the toughest question on the test if you don't know what to do. Okay. All right. What's the perimeter and the area of the middle square? Okay. Find the perimeter and the area of square ABCD round to the nearest hundredth. 5 is the length of the whole side. Okay. So we want to know the perimeter and area of that square. Now the nice thing about it is that because they tell me that ABCD is a square, okay, then all I really have to do is find the length of one side, correct? So we do this by considering this as a right triangle. You don't need the whole thing, you really just need to find the hypotenuse of one triangle, okay, on the outside edge. So we're going to use the information we know, midpoint. So can anybody tell me what the length of this side is? 2.5. What about this? 2.5. All right. So if that's 2.5, 2.5, and it's a right triangle, what does that mean about the hypotenuse? Well, you could use, it's 2.5 radical 2. So, okay, because it's a 45-45 right triangle, which means the ratio is 1 to 1 to radical 2, so in this case 2.5 to 2.5 to 2.5 radical 2. But what Marissa said is right. If you didn't know that, you could do 2.5 squared plus 2.5 squared equals c squared. Okay, you're going to get 6.25 plus 6.25. It's going to give you 12.5. You're going to square root 12.5, and it's going to be the same as 2.5 radical 2. Okay? Now, we're not done because what we need to do with 2.5 radical 2 is what? Let's say I want to find the perimeter. What am I going to do with 2.5 radical 2? Multiply it by 4. Okay? What if I wanted to find the area? 2.5 radical 2 squared. Okay? All right, what's 2.5 radical 2 times 4? 14.14 centimeters. Okay? What's 2.5 radical 2 squared? And again, we can take these as just decimals. 12.5 centimeters squared. There might be more than one multiple choice. I don't know if this is multiple choice or not. It has potential to be multiple choice.
So is that the hardest question on there?
I think it's the hardest question, but if it is multiple choice, I could say that it's probably not the hardest. I actually don't even really know what's on the test. I don't know.
Never looked at it.
I blindfolded myself and just started throwing stuff.
You know, like parents movies, like the stars, like they start flopping and all of it.
Yeah,
That's what you're doing. You're just like,
picking a question, throwing in different answers as the correct ones. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah. All right. A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H. Number 10 are similar polygons. Their corresponding side ratios are 2 to 3. The perimeter of A, B, C, D is 23 inches. What is the perimeter of E, F, G, H? The nice thing about perimeter and scale factor is that they are proportional. How many multiple choice questions were there? One. That's what I thought. Was it a yes or no question?
Yes.
Yeah. You see it? Thank you.
was it easy?
Well, that's now whether that's because I knew it or because I didn't. I don't know.
I knew we're going on the questions right now, so.
Yeah, we're going over it now. So let's see. So I don't actually have to draw the pictures of this because I know that scale factor is equal to perimeter ratios. Okay? So ABCD to EFGH is 2/3 or 2 to 3. Sorry, 2/3. If the perimeter of ABCD is 23, what's the perimeter of EFGH? All I have to do is make sure that I'm keeping ABCD on top and EFGH on the bottom. Or vice versa, but I want to keep them in relation. So how do I solve something like that? Cross multiply and divide, so 3 times 23 divided by 2. Okay? What do I get? 34.5 inches. Well, number 11. Okay? Number 11. Write and solve an inequality for x. Okay, let me draw a picture here. Okay. This is actually not that bad because notice it's a right triangle. So even if they throw in this other stuff, that doesn't even really matter. Okay? That's a right triangle. So what do I know about 2x plus 4 in relation to 8? Right, because 2x plus 4 represents the hypotenuse of the right triangle, we know that it's got to be greater than 8. Okay? Now we're just working it down to where we're solving for x as part of an inequality. What's next? Subtract 4. Good. So I got 2x is greater than 4. What's next? Divide by 2. So x is greater than 2. That wasn't a multiple choice question?
You should make that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Because I don't think you couldn't type in a greater, well, you can, but I didn't figure most people would know how to type in a greater than symbol. You hit shift and then you see like 2 keys over to the right from the M. I know it. Few are.
I would have found it after a while. I would have had done.
So how frustrating is it to listen to these videos where you only hear me like answering things that you can't hear on the other
It
side?
is because, well, it's not, it's actually really funny because I know most of it is me talking.
Yeah.
I know what I said.
So you could technically have a conversation with yourself and then just listen to my response.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be weird.
Except for that one.
All right, number 12. Find the geometric probability of the spinner landing on a number less than 6. Okay, well, probability is what? What is probability? Number desired over number total. How many total positions are there on the spinner thingy? 5? Okay. How many of them are less than 6? 5. So what's the answer? Okay, 1. 1 or E, I would probably accept 100%. Yeah, actually 100% is the answer, so. Huh? It's weird to ask their age.
You said, how many of them are under 6?
His face.
Wow.
Everyone ignores it. I like that word. That's awesome. You have like video of her face too. I can see her reaction.
Yeah, like
I don't even know how I do. Like, I wonder if I could, if I was going to do a camera, it should just be like it mounts to my chest and points like just up my nose kind of area. You know, because you see like those people that are like running and they've got a camera right here. And like, I don't want to see that per se. So.
The phone did go off, right?
I felt like the phone went off and I felt like somebody said something, but I don't know what they said. Number 13. I think this question was actually on your last test. 6, 3, 7, y. Find the value of y. So you're going to set up a proportion here. Okay? 6 over y. I'm just going to give you an example of a proportion that will work. 3 over 7. You just can't cross them. Like, you can't do 6 over 7 equals 3 over y. No, you can't. 6 times 7 is, what was that, 42? 42, what's 42 divided by 3? 14. So we'll check it with the answer key. That is correct. Boom. Shakalaka. All right, number 14. This is the one, a lot of people really struggle with this. Man, another just near flawless circle. It is. It's the little things in life that bring me joy. All right, it's going to ask you for angle X. And I think I even put a hint in the test that says, this is not a central angle. Maybe I didn't. I thought about it at least. Okay, if this was a central angle, we'd still have a problem because a central angle and its intercepted arc have the same degree, right? But vertical angles are congruent. So X couldn't be the same as this position here because it would have to be 30 and X would have to be 40, and that would make vertical angles not congruent, and vertical angles are congruent. But this is not a central angle. So what we find out is that X and, let's say, sure, they are vertical angles and they are equal to each other, but they are the average of their intercepted arcs. Their intercepted arcs are 40 and 30. So 40 plus 30 divided by 2 equals 35 degrees.
Must be nice to be smart for a while. How could you do that?
Huh?
She said it must be nice to be smart for at least I have the review done. She's like just reading the answers off the paper. I do too.
I mean, I sent you the review with the answer key at the bottom. So I don't know how many of you eventually used that, but everybody should be in here with the answers. So number 15. Miles, did you find that the review and the test were pretty similar?
Were they exactly similar or pretty similar? Don't hold out. Everyone's going to beat you up after class.
They were what they are.
All right, we want to know the volume. That line does represent the diameter. So it does need to be divided in two because we need pi r squared times height. Okay, so we need 8.8 to be divided by 2, which should be what, 4.4? So let's see, they want us to use 3.14, so 3.14 times 4.4 squared times 15. Okay, those are the numbers we're going to plug into our calculator and hopefully get, what, 911.9 feet cubed if the mental calculator works.
Does your mental calculator work?
Well, that and being able to see the answer key.
Very right.
Say no.
Nope, it's not. Number 16.
You better go.
Number 16 is another one where you're going to have to actually type in the segment set equals number, segment set equals number, segment set equals number. Okay, you're going to get a picture that looks similar to this. Except better than that. I probably should have drawn the lines first, but in any case. Okay, let's see. Here to here, here to there, there to here. A, B, F, C, B. All right, and then they're going to give me some more information. All right, if I can get your attention. 3x plus 2. Okay. Let's see, BC is 5x minus 2. We got BD is x plus 8. And BC, BF is 8x minus 11. And that's split up a little bit. You notice the minus 11 actually went down in the second line. Okay, so we want to find these different segments. What we have to do first is solve for x, then input x back into everything. All right, so how am I going to go about doing that?
Oh, I know.
Go ahead.
You're going to set 5x equal to negative 2. Whoa, sorry. 5x minus 2. Sorry. There's equals 8x minus 11.
Good. Okay, so we also could have done 3x plus 2 equals x plus 8, right?
Right.
Because the rule here is that two tangent lines to the same circle that meet at an external point, those segments are congruent to each other. Okay? So from here we can solve for x. You can subtract 5x. You can add 11 to either side. So we're going to get 9 equals 3x. What does x equal? 3. Okay. Now I'm going to go about plugging that in. Now I really only have to plug it into 2 sets, right? Because the other 2 sets are going to be equal to the previous 2 sets if I do this right. For instance, let's see. BD is 3 plus 8, so that should be 11, which means this should be 11, right? Okay. Let's see, 5x, that's 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 2 is 13. So 13, and without even having to do the math, that should be 13. Does that make sense? Okay, now you're just going to have to figure out how to type that in. Should be AB equals 11, BD equals 11, BF equals 13, BC equals 13. But I'm going to show, it should have a top line that says which order I would like it in. Now it'll follow that order. Okay? You'll still get the right answer if it's out of order, but I'll just have to go in and claim it as correct. Number 17. No, I think this one's the hardest question on the test. Okay, we got a pilot flying at an altitude of 1.8 kilometers. Okay, there he is. I'll give him a little bit bigger wing there. Okay, his line of sight is out to here. Okay. The angle of depression at the beginning of the runway is 31 degrees. So we're going to look down here. We should be familiar with this from our trigonometry SMART goal. Right? We're going to see we're 1.8 kilometers up, and this is 31 degrees. Okay? What we're ultimately going to want to find is this distance right here. Okay? Which trig function would I use?
You would use
Tangent. 1.8 is opposite, x is adjacent. So we're going to do tangent 31 equals 1.8 over x. So what I'm going to end up with is 1.8 over tangent 31. You need to take this out to about as many decimal places as you can, because it's going to be the difference between a rounding error. Okay? What is 1.8 over tangent 31? 2.9957. Okay. All right. Your next one is going to look for the end of the runway, which is going to be further away. Okay? So we're still 1.8 kilometers here. But now we have this whole thing. Okay, let's call that y. Okay? And we have a different degree for that as well, which is 23 degrees. Okay? So we're going to get tangent 23 equals 1.8 over y. So we're going to use 1.8 over tangent 23. What is 1.8 over tangent 23? 4.2405. All right, now I'm going to subtract 2.9957 from 4.2405. What do you get? .24, and that's the important part, because if I don't round it correctly, I'll end up with 1.25, and people will round that up to 1.3. We want 1.2 kilometers. Okay, we'll stop right there. I wanted to finish that question because it is pretty tough.
That looks like they